Guys, this video is brought to you by our friends at Lucy. Lucy was founded by Caltech scientists on a mission to reduce tobacco-related harm with a tobacco alternative that doesn't suck. As former smokers dissatisfied with traditional nicotine options, they knew there had to be a better way for adult tobacco users. It was a big challenge, but they did it with their innovative nicotine gum. 4 milligrams of nicotine in each piece, so you can get a dose anywhere, anytime. I encourage my friends who smoke to choose Lucy gum over cigarettes or vapes for all the obvious reasons. And as you know, nicotine is addictive, so use discretion. Lucy gum comes in 3 delicious flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. Visit lucy.co. Use the promo code Chael20. That's going to save you 20% off your entire order. That's Lucy, Lucy.co, or click on the link in the description. Remember, nicotine is addictive, so use discretion. What do you do with Khamzat Chimaev? And it's a very big question, because let me remind you where we left off. Okay, this was amongst the great organic experiments in the history of combat for me. Truly. Khamzat Chimaev going to Fight Island, fighting at 185 pounds, finding out there's an opportunity the following week at 170 pounds. One part of the story that has been greatly undertold. I understand how you can get a first-round victory, go back-to-back, collect a little paycheck. I don't understand how he dropped 15 pounds. I mean, that's one part that got left off. He bounces back up to 185, fights Gerald Merchant 3. One thing they all had in common is none of them went into the second round. Now, I loved that, and when I call it an experiment, I loved the idea of this undefeated up-and-comer. He's calling himself Khabib 2.0. Boy, he sure looks a lot like Khabib, but he's changing weight classes, and he's doing it in such a short period of time that even Cowboy Cerrone's looking around going, hey, dude, you fight too much. They then decided, no, we got to find him a home. We got to find him a home. He's got to pick between these two weight classes. He's got to get a ranked fighter, and let's see how close to the championship we can get. Let's move him up this card. Let's get him to a championship fight, if he's that good. So they settle in on Leon. Now, that was a struggle. I'm only reminding you guys of this, just in case you forgot, but the timeline is very relevant because they settle in on Leon, who was ranked number 3. And even Leon wasn't crazy about it. And Leon's only pushback, as many other guys had, was, look, this guy's not ranked. I'm number 3. Leon, personally, I haven't lost an 8 fight spanning over 4 years. Why do I got to fight a guy that's not ranked? That was the argument. Then there was some kind of a ranking system that came out, and Chimaev's name suddenly appeared at number 9 or number 10 or however that all works. But all of a sudden he's going to fight, and we're hearing from both guys. And it was believed by me. It was believed by me if Khamzat Chimaev beats Leon, he's going straight into a championship fight. And I believe that not only because I watched the trajectory, but this was also right on the heels of Khabib exiting stage left. Well, if you don't have Khabib, it would make a level of sense to have Khabib 2.0. The other side of the coin is Leon did come out and say that he was tempted to do the fight because he was told, beat Chimaev and we'll give you the title fight. Now, I believe those statements to be true, and I also believe them to be worthy. But if we're to go back and try to figure out what to do to Chimaev now, I think we should unwind a little bit. I really do. I don't know that I love the idea that he fights at 170 in a fight that's hard enough that he's one fight away from a title. Look, he's coming off of a COVID. He made this very public. I would never speak about a guy's health, but he made it public. He let us in on this, and we were all cheering for him, and he did share. I couldn't breathe. I thought it was over. Not just my career, life. I mean, this is very serious stuff I'm talking to you about. So the idea of him going in to a 5-round atmosphere after that, I think is a little much. I think he's likely to be a co-main event, which would be wise, but the question now becomes against who and how hard of an opponent. You've only got a couple of guys that are willing to fight him. Neil Magny, who deserves all the credit in the world because Neil's the only straight badass that was willing to fight Chimaev, said he would fight Chimaev, and would have fought Chimaev at the time when Chimaev was fighting. So Neil Magny, you then have Michael Chiesa. Now it looks as though, okay, Magny's fighting Neil, and Chiesa looks like he's going to be fighting Vincent Luque. But those fights can get worked out. You can still have time, so don't think you have to come and correct me on these things. And then, of course, we've heard from Kevin Holland that he's going to pop down to 170. I don't know that we need to put Kevin Holland in there just because he can fog a mirror and nobody else is willing to do it. But I do think that it's ultimately going to come down to somebody who can fog a mirror and who's willing to do it. So that's the situation that you run into. And I wish that cooler heads would prevail. I don't think we're in the big rush that we are now. I don't think that we're all with Khabib hysteria and we're all hung over from Khabib leaving like we quite were. That was a real thing in this sport and we must fill this void. I don't think that we're still at it. I would like to see them go back. I like this. Let's go 170. Let's go 185 in a short period of time. Let's pop back down to 170. I thought that was a really fun and really natural and organic way to run a guy's career. Not to mention, Chimaev says he could win it at 70, 85, and 205. I don't have any problem with giving a guy a shot. I always take a guy at his word in this sport. What color belt are you? You're black? Okay, I don't need to hear it from your professor. I don't need to hear it from your coach. You tell me you're a black belt, you're a black belt. That's how I look at it. You tell me you can win at both of these weights and you're willing to do it and bounce back and forth and you'll take on anybody on short notice, then let's give a guy an opportunity. What's wrong with that? Why do we keep, by habit, putting the reins on somebody? Why do we keep holding them up? Every now and then you got a thoroughbred. You got to let him run.